topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the host and their guests, and not those of W4CS Radio, its employees, or affiliates. W4CS makes no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening to the Cancer Support Network on W4CS.com.
Hi everyone, it's Arthi with Light Up Your Life, and I'm so excited to be with you all today. Every day is a different day, right? And so I was just actually staring at my face, and I feel like I've got some dark eye circles today, which, right, when sometimes we decide that we're not going to put on some makeup, which is me today. I didn't put it on, right? So working on authenticity and transparency is a key mission of mine. And so I decided not to do it today for myself. Sometimes my husband, my kids tease me and call it fake up, but I always say I actually, at this point in my life, am not putting on makeup to decorate myself or to do it to cover up or make myself different. I actually wear makeup because I really like it. And I think that's something that I listen to women in their 40s and 50s and 60s. When you talk to them about makeup, you do realize that it's a very different way of looking at it than it was as a teenager in our tweens and our 20s. But so I just wanted to share that I decided that I wasn't going to wear makeup today, right? Which is something I'm like super shocked that when my hair is half out of it. But I did have fun choosing my earrings. I'm very much into earrings right now. So that is all part of self-care, right? Different ways of incorporating our authentic and real living. So I am on this mission of loving to wear all the earrings that I had accumulated over the years that I never really dug into. But I guess I was waiting for a perfect time, or maybe they were waiting for me. What I'm trying to get at is each day is so different. There might have been things that you have decided that were in your closet that you haven't worn, but then now are wearing, and just embrace it as we grow, live, and change every day. Also, we're hitting a new target period of lots of people are starting to engage with each other and travel a little bit more, and the world's opening up. But just want to remind you, as always, still be cautious, especially with young children. Just always, I think if we learn anything from COVID, just personal hygiene, like don't take it for granted, wash your hands, and, just be mindful about, your own symptoms and, how you're feeling. And when you need some downtime, take it, right? So that you can let your body rest. But then also enjoy those moments of getting to be with those that you love and care for, and celebrate and cherish those, because I know for so many, you haven't really seen anyone that you're used to seeing in 2 years, or haven't traveled to seeing them. And now the world is opening up in a different way. But don't let the messages from the last 2 years not be carried with you. I just wanted, I know that was a lot to start off with this morning. I think if you watched last week's episode or tune in, it was me being solo. And I think I was telling you how I used that episode to really do my own digging into mindfulness. And today I'm like word vomit, right? So it all depends in context when we are feeling certain things. But I also want to remind you, and I'm thinking we'll use one episode, or when I have a solo episode, of really working on, now that we've talked about mindfulness, but also silence. I've been working on silence a lot in my coaching practice and in my own life, because, I tend also to talk a lot. Surprise, surprise. But what I'm trying to get at is the goal of silence in our lives when there's so much noise and so much stimulation around at all times. And I just wanted to thank you all for always supporting this mission. I have really loved. I think we're almost on 7 to 8 months, and I am really excited about everyone that we have on board that has come on, that is coming on, and as we look to the new year, of anyone who's interested in coming on, please contact me. The info's down on the banner. The goal is to really have a variety of platforms in this alternative methods, also different approaches in health and wellness, and really to target mindset. Because once we get that mindset in place, and all the stories we've heard over the last 7 months that we've been together, you've seen that mindset for folks, and what that means, and how they're building their lives and how they look at their lives more fruitfully. And the theme is the same. So, and please, please, please always reach out for topics you think I should include, or any guest that you think, if it's not you, that you think I could possibly reach out to, because I am in the works of actually looking at next year's schedule. I know that our special guest had some technical difficulties, so if you'll bear with me for a second, I'm going to find out if they're okay. I think they're still having some technical difficulties, which can happen, right? Which can happen oftentimes. But I just want to remind you that if there's any moment in time, if you're someone who's thought about doing a podcast, or being in speaking engagements, or starting to really become reflective of your voice, which we will talk about the chakra, as I said that last week, that we'll use one episode. And I think if I'll do some work with you as well, but I would love to find a real guru in chakras who's been doing it for a long time. It's, I've been growing into this practice for the last year, but the throat chakra. And so many of you feel like there's so much power there. When we can feel some heat when we put our hands on our throat. You may have something to say or something to share. And so the fact of the matter is, if you're ready to take that on, don't let the fear be in your ear. I posted this on Instagram one time. I'm like, don't let the fear eat your ear. And what I'm trying to say by that is that you can literally talk yourself into not doing something that you actually would be really awesome at, bring you fulfillment and joy. So if these are things that you are thinking about, then please, please, please try to not let that fear eat your ear, or give it some space where you literally reflect on it. Say, okay, I have this fear. What am I going to do with it? Am I going to let it eat me? So talk to it and then release it. And you know what? You will be surprised once you start doing things. It'll magically, the universe will start taking care of you and taking care of itself. And what I mean by that is you will be held because you really had that mindset shift, and you're allowing yourself to actually go into that positivity model, because fear is a negative based emotion, and it really can consume us. So I share that with you about the throat chakra if you're really interested in really doing that engagement piece. Those of you who've been thinking about your future and are thinking, oh, do I want to switch my job? Do I really? And you also are someone who's thought about trying to pursue some education, and it's been your long time goal, and you have concerns about how you're financially going to pay for it. This is the thing. You can also let the fear eat in your ear, and you can also say the timing's not right, right? Sometimes the stars don't always align all at the same time for things, but you just have to dig down, right? You have to dig down and figure things out. And what I mean by that is, if you want education and you're wanting to take the next leap of faith into another career, jump in and take that first class. Jump in and see how that feels. Jump in and say, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. And it could be something that you have been thinking a lot about. I'll give you an example. It doesn't even have to be in the possible industry that you are thinking about. You could even just sign up for like an art class, right? Or even an exercise class. So you can start by just the idea of some type of education that's calling you, and then slowly immerse yourself into that education domain that you might want to go into. For instance, if you really want to pursue business, a business degree, then you can slowly immerse yourself with just taking a class that's been holding interest for you. You don't have to start off with a big wham and get into something you're not 100% sure, because that fear is there, right? It's baby steps to get to leading you. And I talked to you about further education because I've been thinking a lot about further education myself for my own life. I put a lot of blockades myself, a lot of them, which is really common. I put a blockade on being a writer, and you saw a couple weeks ago, if you saw that episode, we had the Dare to Be Authentic authors on with me, where I got the privilege of writing a chapter in an anthology. And so I think I shared with you that for me, my fear stemmed from when I was in college. I had a teaching assistant in my college writing class, the 101 class, basically tear up my writing, and I did horrible. And so tore up my writing, it was read all over. And it just, even with edits, it wasn't, I guess I wasn't giving what I needed to. And I've had a couple of teaching experiences. I had one also in elementary school. And I share these stories with you because we actually carry the weight of what somebody told us in education. We carry it so much in our heart and in our mind and our spirit that we actually make it a roadblock to not further. And so I never want anyone to give anyone that much power or credit. Okay. I know teachers, and we value them, but I also want you to remember back to your roots and your connection if it's something you want to pursue. So I remember my first grade teacher told my parents that I wouldn't amount to anything, like that she was worried about what I would become. And so, of course, I can't imagine for my parents what they heard. And even my uncle, who's really involved in things, I mean, he also got that earful. And so why I'm sharing this is, for a while, like that year, like those that you carry and you lodge that. And then you have a great expansive teacher, which for me, thank God, it was the next year that really believed in me and said that I would do amazing things. That's the weight someone can carry. But again, don't let people carry you that far, especially when it comes to squashing school dreams or dreams to further, right? Because it can happen, and they don't intentionally mean to. They're carrying their own bag of whatever it is, their bag of negativity or emotion or anything. So like I said, focus on what it is that you have internally desired, and let that subconscious rising, unconscious rising come. And we're going to explore that concept a lot, of the unconscious, because it gets, and the subconscious, where dreams and aspirations and things get they get covered and hovered. And so there are a lot of avenues that we can explore them, but I just want you to remember how expansive life can be, especially when it comes to further education, and not letting anyone or any experience from the past taint. And I use the word taint because it can taint our future. Another example I'll give you is for one of the coaching programs that I'm involved with, which is called Vino and Vision. And I actually will have someone from the team come on with me one day and share this expansive work. But it's designed for activity-based coaching. And so we are, not only with our clients are we doing different modalities, but then we're encouraged to do it. So there are these art classes, and I have been trying to go to them as much as I can. And I myself am enjoying that idea of being a kid again and holding a brush. Of course, I did like a paint night twice, I think, in the last 10 years, or no, 15 maybe. But the idea of just being in that moment and brush, and then I let go, especially when our instructor was like, just let it go and let it flow, meaning, you know, not to focus on so much of getting it perfect or right, or I'm not an artist. So last night when I was working on mine, I also gave myself humble grace and was like, this is my product. So there was a piece where it didn't come out exactly the way that I envisioned. But I gradually became more humble to realizing that's the way it was meant to be and that's the way it is. And so, you know, I share that with you because it's about humble grace, right? Humble grace. Alrighty, I think our guest no longer has technical difficulties. Gosh, this favorite word of time, right? Technical difficulties. I want to share with you, Rustie MacDonald is this wonderful, wonderful human force that I got to encounter when I started my days of just being on podcasts. And I'm not sure if I had started mine or not. I can't remember. But today's theme is called Living While Thriving from the Lens of a Spiritual Coach. So as you know, I love the coaching modality, and this is where the world is going. And so what better modality to have than spiritual? And so Rustie herself has been through so many different experiences. She'll be sharing with us what it looks like to live in poverty, to be a part of the poverty cycle, what that looks like, how expansive your life can be when you have a spiritual element. She's a speaker, she's an author, she's a certified empowerment coach. I'm sorry, I want to say that right. A certified spiritual empowerment coach. Don't you love the sound of that? And Rustie has a podcast, and when I came on it, you just will feel her presence, this beautiful presence in the space, and you guys will feel it on air or on the when you're video watching. And if we do have some technical glitches, please just be humble to the experience of just being in an expansive space with her. And she loves dogs. And also she's been through a messy divorce. And as we know, a divorce can tear many people apart, and it does, but then you work yourself up and build a whole new you. And so we'll go through as much as we can to talk about that interwoven theme of spirituality throughout her life's journey and what the work she does. So with no further ado, here she comes to save the day.
I'm trying.
Hi, Rustie. Can you hear me?
So,
oh no,
the audio on my phone is very confusing.
Oh, Rustie, it's breaking up. Let's try. Let's see if it'll happen again. So Rustie might be having some, let's not say a lot of technical difficulty because service can be bad. I had an episode like that too where it was horrible. Rustie, can you hear us? Maybe we can do audio? Oh, I think we lost her. No. She's trying. See? Trying. So in this moment, I'm just going to take a minute and just go in my reflective space to just see if we can send some positive energy out into the universe. And if it's meant to be, we will connect and be able to do this, or we can even reschedule if need be, or we'll figure it out. Last week we talked about taking silence and space. Make sure you try to do that as much as you can whenever you can. There used to be a time where I would take myself off of camera when I was in my own stillness, but I'm working on that as part of visibility too. Notice if you can take a minute to close your eyes. If you haven't already, just notice what's happening in your body. It's called a body scan. You can go from head to toe, feel how it feels in your head, on your face, shoulders, your neck. All throughout your body. And when you're ready, you can wiggle your toes and your fingertips. And bring yourself to the present moment. So I believe that she has poor internet service, which can happen, right? So this is what happens. We can rely on technology and it doesn't work, right? And then we have to remember in this moment, then we were not meant to have that conversation, right? It's a simple thing. We weren't meant to do this in this present moment. So is it saved for a different time? Is it possible that it'll happen on its own, like, right, where we plan it ahead? And then there's a lot of variables. But in this moment, I know that this is the way that this story was supposed to go. It's all about keeping your heart light, more than keeping your heart light, because it is a little bit of this analytical space. Why did this happen? Why is this not working? Oh my gosh, my podcast video is not, my guest is not able to come on. The why, all the chatter. So I could have gone there too. We can all go there. But if you take a second to just breathe and take a moment and go into reflective space, it can really change and become really expansive. So, I think that today what we can do is we can try to reschedule Rusty, and I can work on that element. And I want to remind you all of a couple of things again that are happening with our own organization, with Thea. We are continuing to just expand collaborations, especially in the healthcare industry. And I'm really starting to focus a lot on the death care aspect and the end of life doula piece, and trying to have that become more expansive in our hospice settings. If you haven't seen the episode with Dr. BJ Miller, BJ of Mental Health, I really encourage you to watch that episode. It's so powerful, where he talks about palliative care. But I am on a mission, many missions, and that's what I want to tell you all. Be crazy. I wrote this in my book chapter. I said, be crazy with me. Like, I by no means can tell you that all of the things that I'm thinking in my head can all happen, but do I think I can try? For sure. So I don't want you to not set standards and greatness for yourself because somebody along the way told you couldn't, or that I wasn't going to do anything. Because we spend a lot of time, wasted time, giving people credit or letting that negative energy just take us over. I'm reminding you that you are destined for greatness, each and every one of us. There used to be a time when babies were known as coming in and as blank slates, that they came into the world. And they would just, they would get to take everything in and make it their own. And now we have some really great research showing us that they actually come in a lot with that maternal and paternal piece as well, all the way down from when they're first conceived and all the way down to that pregnancy. But at the same time, we are all designed for greatness. And we will have Rustie back because she discusses, especially when there's a cycle of poverty and that cyclical cycle, and how does that work, where you can become and be different from the cycle? How do you break that cycle? How do you help to break that cycle? And why I bring this up is, again, because if we really dig deep into her story, then she's going to share that she had visions as a child. She had dreams and goals and aspirations, as does everyone. So those of you who are thinking it's too late, I wish, I wonder if I had, those questions, you can still take some of a dream and it can still become expansive in a different chapter of your life. And I know you know what I mean. What I mean is you get to design it yourself. So Dia, which we know, as many of you know, is, I told you all, means light, or the bearer of light. The actual the candle holder, the Dia. But when I think of it, also, when I think of an acronym, I think of design it yourself. Awesome, because you get to design it yourself. Designing you. You're the it. Design it yourself. Because guess what? We are going to have a home team that takes care of us and loves us and nourishes us, hopefully. Oh, I think Rustie's in the stream.
I'm in the stream, but you can't see my face. I am so sorry, Artie. I don't know what the issue is with the StreamYard and my camera, but it just doesn't want to show me.
I was just sharing earlier that when we're meant to have, or when we're meant to be together, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about in general, then the forces unite and then it happens. So this is the way you were meant to come on, and you're here.
Hello, my friends. I miss you so much. I have so much.
Oh no, come back. Oh no. Oh man, see, now I'm getting my hopes up. See, I'm human. We're all human. I'm getting my hopes up. We're going to talk about how much. Oh, there she is.
Hello. Why is it doing that? That's so bizarre. All right, are we good? I'm not touching anything, I promise.
No worries. I said we had lots of technical difficulties, but no problem. Rustie, can you start by just highlighting and sharing with our audience whenever they listen in or watch or whatever? Can you share you?
I am a fantastically silly, goofy, quirky, living life, surfing a big molten rock into infinity and the universe as a sack of water that's hypocritical and filled with love and joy for humanity.
Oh my gosh, I love that mission statement. Is that a mission statement or is that a description?
It should be. It's just too long for a t-shirt.
Oh, they always tell you to have a mission statement, like you're supposed to design this your you mission statement, but yeah, that's
awesome. Pretty much me. I don't know how else to, I love it when people ask me who I am. I'm like, I'm a sack of water floating onto the universe on a molten lava rock without a steering wheel. That's really it.
So fantastic. So y'all, do you see how expansive that is with using the senses? Molten rock, I'm visualizing. Oh, it kind of just captures you all.
Yeah, that's really what we are. And I think we put too much service and mind thought and mind food into trying to be something that we're not. And in the reality, we're just a conscious being here on this planet to experience and learn to love. And we're not doing a very good job at that. That's why you and I are so important. Like, we need more people like us to do this kind of work.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. See, I'm silent because when I get silent, because I'm thinking. See, I'm really evaluating silence these days in a really great way. But, you know, I was just sharing before you came on the idea of, like, I was sharing that the nonprofit is like light, but I've decided also the acronym that I had a friend of mine and I talking about out loud was Design It Yourself Awesome, right? Like we are emphasizing so many things at this point. And what you described and how you described who you are is Design It Yourself Awesome.
Absolutely. I think everybody's awesome. I think we all have our thing, and we're just supposed to show up and experience each other in a positive and open way. And I hope that my presence whenever I enter a room allows that, and gives people that ease and that sense of that we all need, because this world's kind of crazy right now, don't you think?
Yes, it is. And I do feel like there are more light workers out there than ever before that are coming or emerging or deciding that they are ready to take on these gifts that everyone has, which I hugely believe, we all have. Anyways, Rustie, I want to get into you. So can you talk about, because I know one of the things I shared with the audience when we talk about cycles, one of them is poverty. Can you describe how poverty looked in your life? And now I bet you would even use the word abundance on the opposite spectrum of your life now. But do you mind sharing with us what that experience and what
we only have a few minutes, so there's a lot to share. And I think of poverty as a systematic dis-ease. I've been homeless. I have had and currently have a predatory property manager. We have developed a society that puts emphasis on paying very little and yet raising real estate to an astronomical price. So it's very hard to live. And, we could go, I would love to be able to really get into depth, but unfortunately technology took that away. But for example, here in Florida, the average job is something in hotel hospitality or something in waitressing or bartending or so forth. And right now, being the epicenter of COVID, not many people, there are some, but a lot of people are trying to stay home. A lot of people don't have work. A lot of people are afraid of this. And rental rates are going astronomical right now. I was looking before the show at what it is in my area, and for a 2-bedroom, it's $2,200. Yet the average job is $10 an hour. And that's because we voted in to have that as the minimum wage here in Florida, and that just started this month. So if you do the math, you're not going to be able to afford food, water, and electricity with a $2,200 rental. Mm-hmm. And because it's a landlord-driven state, the property managers don't care. They know that they will be able to replace you and raise the rent as they see fit. So you can have cancer. You can have a sick child. Here, there is a no care policy. And so that has exponentially in the last 2 years increased our homelessness. Our homeless shelter here in Charlotte County is bursting at the seams. And unfortunately, those who have the power and the control to do something about it are choosing not to. And we do have federal funding to prevent this from occurring, but it's being mismanaged in Tallahassee. And unfortunately, we are bursting at the seams with homelessness. And it's very painful to watch. It's very painful to have been a part of. And it's kind of nerve-wracking. You know, I have a client who called me a few months ago to ask me how she could euthanize her dogs because she left an abusive husband and her 2 dogs were elderly and she didn't know what to do homeless with 2 dogs. And that's just, I mean, I cried. And what are you going to do? And the apathy that rings throughout Charlotte County, throughout Florida, throughout the United States right now is really discouraging. This can be fixed. Poverty can be fixed. But the misconceptions as to why people are impoverished are not truthfully being talked about. We're not having an intelligent conversation as to why this is happening. So when you're looking at this time period in which we have misinformation, we have people getting sick, we have, you know, violence towards parents who choose to mask their children, which is just bizarre to me. Now we have an increase in poverty. We have a production chain system, a manufacturing system that is held up throughout the country, which is preventing and making jobs harder to obtain. It's just a big hot mess. And I don't foresee that it's going to get any better until we start mandating and doing things that will support our communities in a positive way. I find it interesting that people claim that there's one party is trying to force everybody into socialistic conditions, yet the way this country is going off rails, almost everybody that's average is being forced to use socialized programs. So you can't have it both ways.
Yeah. There's a lot you bring up today because I was on a call yesterday that looks at family violence and also homelessness. And the fact is, a lot of the agencies, these nonprofit agencies in our area were bringing up the fact that most of the hotels were so full, right? They're housing people. But then at the same time, they were talking about, oh my God, wouldn't it be so great if we could merge our collective funds together and just go ahead and build a 300 apartment complex or something, you know, because it's just a cyclical cycle. And I don't know about you, Rusty. The thing that drives me nuts is when people discuss how, oh, there's that homeless person. Well, they can just go out and get a job. There's so many jobs. And I'm like, you know, slow down, wind down. You haven't even gotten to the root of what is happening with that person.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
And I cannot handle the fact that this judgment. And I thought we had addressed this when we realized how many of our veterans, how many battered women. I mean, the list is expansive. I don't even want to get into all the subgroups that are affected by home. And then, of course, our immigrant population or our refugees. Continued on. The list goes on and on. What I'm trying to get at is I have decided that the 2 myths around things big time are death and dying and palliative care, like all that industry and the death and dying, and one about homelessness. I cannot fathom how we haven't in 2021 figured out how much judgment we place on people when it comes to the poverty that exists in this country. It's disgusting, actually, to me. You know,
it's not even, the problem is it's not even a legitimate conversation. It's not even a legitimate, it's not even an intelligent conversation. I go up against so many people who say, well, why were you homeless? You have a college degree. Why can't you make something of yourself? Well, I'm a full-time single mom, and, you know, I've had to flee a battered, abusive marriage, and I'm starting over from scratch, and I don't know anybody where I'm at. So resources are not something that are easy. And a lot of people take that for granted. A lot of people think that just because you are, you know, floating on this big lava rock, that you have resources and friends and family and people that can help you. And the attitudes are really egregious. I mean, here in Florida, if you're 15 days late for rent, they start eviction. Even if you are working towards getting services, they still start eviction process because they don't care. They know that they can raise the rent. They know that they can put another body in there until that body figures out that their landlord or their property manager is predatory. And it's mind-boggling that we cannot seem to get our government lawmakers to protect us. I mean, they'll wine and dine us so that they get our vote, and then once they get our vote, they turn their backs on us. And it's a huge bursting zit that's happening right now. I don't know how else to describe it, because I know it's not just Florida. I talk to people all over the world. But there needs to be some serious and intellectual conversations had in regards to preventing this from exacerbating.
And it is an epidemic in itself, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Like, this is a serious epidemic that's happening under our noses. I mean, I have friends on the West, and I'm sure we've heard the Portland epidemic with homelessness. You know, we had on the podcast someone who's running a soup kitchen, a nonprofit that has seen what happened during COVID and just the amount of things that have happened. But yeah, Rustie, can you go ahead and share that you have the book that you're can you share that piece of literature?
So I'm writing a book called The Truth About Poverty, and I had to pull it off of editing because so many things have transpired here in Florida. And I know that it's not just Florida, but I can only reference that as experience. For example, you know, people from the lockdown, which is almost 2 years ago, they're still waiting for their unemployment. Still. And most of these people are homeless now. One man had a heart attack, and that finally allowed the DEO to give him money because he went on TV to talk about it, how this so adversely affected him that he had a heart attack. He was so stressed out about it. So those are some things that are being added to the book. And I know it can be fixed, but you have to have the willingness to fix it. And The Truth About Poverty is very real. It's my personal story. It's my personal experience, not only as someone who was homeless, but also as somebody who counsels people from the edge. And it's very frightening. It's a very frightening world when you can't trust your own neighbor or your own family, or, you know what I mean? And that's really where it's gotten to in the world of poverty. It's just so very divisive, and it's heart-wrenching because children are hungry. You know, what kills me the most, and Artie, I know you can relate to this, is my daughter, an amazing child. I love her. She's my favorite person on the whole planet. She goes to college in the morning. She goes to high school in the afternoon. She has to worry about shooters. She has to worry about bullies. She has to worry about COVID, whether it's real or not, and, you know, the popularity versus the unpopularity of wearing a mask. And now these kids have to worry about whether or not there's a pink slip on the door. Most of the kids in our area, the numbers are staggering of how many children only get a hot school lunch. They don't get dinner. They don't have running water because it's just out of control. And the people that are in power that can make a difference, that can make a change, that can show up and do the right thing for the community, turn their backs. And it's mind-boggling. And I can't even tell you how heart-wrenching it is to see, you know, last year, I do taxes during tax season. And there's a program where you can get like a quick micro loan if you pass certain things. And this woman with 7 children, 3 of them were her biological, 4 of them were her partners, but 7 children in a tiny PT Cruiser. They went to the town They got rent money, they paid their rent, and the next day the landlord evicted them on the streets 7 days before Christmas. That's what we are up against. That's the mentality. And until that changes, it's gonna get worse.
So Roxy, Roxy, I'm sorry. You all have the same. Roxy's our producer. I'm sorry, Rusty. Rusty, unfortunately, we're out of time, but I would love for us to continue our conversation. Can you leave the audience with some nuggets on something you think that we could do that people, because I always say what's in our realm of control. So in your opinion, what is it, something that you could suggest that is in our realm of control as parting thoughts? And in addition to getting in touch with you.
I think that if you were to sit back and ask questions rather than assume, you'll learn more about the trajectory that our communities are on. It's not just easy to get a job. It's not easy to be homeless and go for a job interview when you smell because you haven't been able to shower. It's not easy to get black pants and a black shirt when you don't have a job. It's not easy to have all of your personal items in a backpack and feel that little bit of safety. That's all you have left because you're homeless, to find a place for it. So there are a lot of questions that need to be asked so that there's understanding. And that's part of being Christian. That's part of being Catholic. That's part of being, spiritually based, but it's also part of being a human on this planet with compassion and love. And so if you can get over your assumptions, you'll learn a lot about the beauty of these people and how they're not drug addicts and they're not mentally ill. They're not alcoholics and, all these rumors that we like to have because we, live in the Jerry Springer world, but that's not the truth.
It's not the truth. And I'm tearing up because it's not the truth. And we need to start facing that piece of like it's not reality, and we need to start addressing it. So yes, Rusty, would love to schedule having you back, especially as your book gets to peace. So thank you for being on, even these short moments of how we can all work on our levels.
Absolutely. Thank you, Artie, and I'll call you in a few minutes.
All right. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Everyone, thank you so much for tuning into another episode. Remember, whatever moment you get, savor it. And also, what Rusty just told us, stop making assumptions and start living with curiosity. See you next time.